that you can now sponsor Nerd and Tie, even if you saw Pher make a hand gesture. For $20, you can sponsor an episode, and right here at this moment in the show, we would read your name or any other thing you wanted to say, as long as it wasn't obscene. Like Pher's hand gesture a second ago. Just go to nerdandtie.com and look on the right sidebar or click sponsor on the menu.
And welcome to Nerd and Tie this week. On this week's show, we talk about Spider-Man joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The purely for legal reasons, why Wheel of Time pilot aired last night. The Master is going to return in Doctor Who's Series 9 opener. We talk DC news, and we talk about all the casting that's happened in Deadpool. We talk about Anime Milwaukee, and we read your mail. This is Nerd and Tie. And welcome to Nerd and Tie, obscene gesture free, even though Trey was making them at me first.
Yeah, but I was doing it before we started broadcasting.
Whatever. Anyway, good evening and welcome to this fortnight's episode of Nerd. We're off to a great start.
We're trying to do things more live than we used to. So I want to point out that Wheel of Time pilot we're going to talk about in a few minutes did not air last night.
No, it didn't. So we could even... it's a mess.
We don't get to do second takes anymore.
What's that?
Introduce us, Pher.
Anyway, as I said, welcome, folks, to Nerd and Tie. I am one of your hosts, Professor Fursters. And with me, as always, are the incredible Trey Dorn.
I exist.
And the light of everybody's life, the person that can light up a room, and you look at him and you know that everything will be okay, Nick Izumi.
Light our darkest hour.
Exactly. So, no.
Which means he's not Ultra Magnus.
I am certainly not Ultra Magnus. I do, in fact, have time for this.
It's perfect. Okay.
Every Transformers fan thought that was hilarious. All two of them.
I try to get you guys away from talking about Transformers literally every week.
Yet you fail.
And it happens all the time.
Because failing is what you do.
Apparently. Oh, man. Well, folks, this is another... What a fortnight it's been these last this last 2 weeks. How you guys been? How's everybody been?
Pretty good.
I'm doing all right. You know,
I've only received 2 cease and desists this week.
2? We're up to 2?
Fox doesn't like our fair use argument for a certain photo. It's fine. They're not going to do anything.
There we go. Perfect. Whatever. That's for later discussion. But no, that's one of the many things that has happened this last 2 weeks. And why don't we kind of get into the meat of things right away, gentlemen? Because there's the rundown isn't that long, but there's a lot to talk about in these last few these next news items that we're talking about. Of course, the biggest one, and we can't not open the show with this. Spider-Man is officially joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It happened like the day after we went up last.
Yeah, it was literally the day after our last episode.
So this is old news for everybody because it's been 2 weeks.
But there's a lot to talk about in it, nevertheless. I mean,
there is, especially all the deals that went on to make this happen, and just all the good stuff that we're going to be expecting from this move. Of course, now we're not going to be seeing any Spider-Man movies released on their own through Marvel Studios and Disney. That's the big thing, is that Spider-Man is still owned by Sony, and he's still getting his own movies through Sony. But the Marvel Studios now has the ability to use him within their universe through Marvel Studios. Which is something I think people have been wanting, which really shakes things up for the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it currently stands.
Yes. Oh boy, but we start getting into the weird stuff here too.
Yeah, let's kind of break it down a little bit here. Now, where do we even begin with breaking this apart?
Bye-bye, Andrew Garfield. That's right, sorry.
Yep, no, we can... It's almost guaranteed that Andrew Garfield's pretty much not going to be Peter Parker anymore. Or if we're even going to have Peter Parker. That's still even in...
I think it's going to be Peter Parker. On Peter Parker, yeah.
It's going to be Peter Parker. It's going to be Peter Parker, and Sony and Marvel want to send him back to high school because Lord knows we need that version of the character again.
Do we get to see Uncle Ben die again?
I hope not.
Well, yeah, because we need another reboot. That's what's the thing that's driving me the most nuts is how many times am I going to see Spider-Man rebooted?
Right.
While I'm, I mean, I remember when the first one came out, I was in middle school, but
God, I'm old.
But like now I'm like I haven't even bought the second Amazing movie on home video, and they're already like, nope, reboot. Well,
yeah, well, the second one was also the worst performing Spider-Man movie ever.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that, which I guess maybe we can get into that a little bit later, but that almost makes you wonder how viable the character is anymore.
Well, I think he's viable, but I think that they keep taking him the wrong direction.
Mm. Yeah, I can see
that. I agree. We never see. We're seeing his origin story again and again and again, and there's so much more to explore with Spider-Man. There's so many different stories that we can see, yet whenever we get a Spider-Man movie, it's always focusing on his origin story.
Well, it's really frustrating for me as a person who grew up reading Spider-Man, because the Spider-Man I read, like I was a kid in the 90s, so I was reading a Spider-Man who was an adult, who like was not in college, who was a working, married adult. Like, this is a guy who wore a Rusted Root t-shirt unironically. Because it was the 90s. So, like, that's the version. Like, and those Spider-Man books were awesome.
I was going to say, I'm with you, Trey. I mean, I've written about it on Tumblr several times. My Green Goblin is not Norman Osborn. It's Harry. Like,
well, technically they were doing that.
Well, yeah, but that's why I didn't even get to see that come to fruition.
Like, at least Tobey Maguire, they got to adult Spider-Man, like, in the first movie, really.
Yeah, he was in high school by the end of it, exactly.
And with, because they do, like, a whole montage of, like, Peter and Harry's friendship in the first movie for the Tobey Maguire version. And we did get out of high school, like, the first movie was in high school with Andrew Garfield, but we got out of that with the second one. So they always get to that point where I want to see the next story, and that's when they reboot the franchise. Because the next story's the one I grew up with. I mean, I'm still pissed off about the undoing of the marriage. Screw you, Joe Quesada. But
I'm right there with you.
That's when I stopped reading Spider-Man. Well, actually, I stopped reading it when Aunt May stopped being dead. That's really when I stopped, because it's not that having Aunt May alive again was the problem, it's the how they did it.
It's not the Jason Todd thing. It's not that he's alive and that's what's wrong. It's
it's that apparently Aunt May for years had been a hired actress, and Peter never noticed that his one parent figure had been replaced by an actress for years, and I'm not really sure when that switch was supposed to have happened, of when it was real Aunt May to fake Aunt May.
Was that better? Was that better than Aunt May getting married to Doc Ock, though? I mean, that's.
You see, that didn't. Yeah.
That's a Ditko era book, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm probably wrong. Someone's going to yell at me. Why don't you know your classic Spider-Man, Nick? I'm sorry, I didn't write a research paper on Spider-Man.
Because classic Spider-Man's kind of terrible. Because he's in high school.
Yeah, that's what they keep going. I mean, even the cartoon on Disney right now, Ultimate Spider-Man, he's in high school.
Well, I can handle the cartoon going back to that, because that's focused on, like, it's a kid's movie. I mean, the cartoon's a kid's show, I should say. So making the character relatable to their target audience, because, you know, young people like to watch shows about other young people, that's fine. But the vast majority of Spider-Man fans are over the age of 18, and I think I think under 18 people would be more than happy to go see a movie about an adult, as we've seen with every successful Marvel franchise. And it's then still relatable for those of us who are maybe tired of angsty crap. Which is what you get when you keep killing Uncle Ben. And for God's sake, when Gwen Stacy walked on screen in the first Amazing Spider-Man, I was like, well, she's gonna die in the next movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I like Gwen Stacy, though.
I mean, I was hoping they wouldn't fridge Gwen Stacy. I was really hoping, but I did not have enough faith in them.
Well, your lack of faith was in the right place.
Shown to be correct.
I guess I feel really weird about this merger thing, especially since it's guaranteed it's going to be Peter Parker, and since it's our third actor playing Spider-Man within all of our lifetimes on the big screen.
In my adult life, I am 34 years old. This is going to be my third big screen Peter Parker. I was legally able to drink when Tobey Maguire put the suit on, I want to point out. Spider-Man is one of those things that I still get excited for, though. Like, when I see Spider-Man stuff, it still makes me a little bit happy, and I don't know how I feel about this, because I'm actually not that excited about this Marvel deal. I'm having trouble making myself excited. There are many versions I would get excited about. Like, if they did the radical thing of putting a non-white actor in the role. You mean
how literally 99% of the population is calling for Donald Glover to take the role?
No. 50% of the population is calling for Donald Glover. The other 50% are putting on their white hoods.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's that many, but it's a very vocal amount. Like who wouldn't love Donald Glover though? Is
racists?
Yep, that is the easy answer.
But
the disturbingly honest, easy answer.
Right.
But they're not going to do it because Sony's not willing to take risks, and neither is Marvel when it comes to that. Marvel will do lots of things. They will make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but they will not make a major character a minority who's not a minority in the comics already. The only reason why we got a black Nick Fury is because of Ultimate Nick Fury. That's literally it. Because the Ultimate, the writers behind the Ultimate comics literally wanted to make a comic character look like Samuel L. Jackson.
And conveniently, Samuel L. Jackson wanted to be an Iron Man.
Well, Samuel L. Jackson gave them permission back with the Ultimate stuff, and so, yeah. But it's just dumb, and I don't have faith that they're going to do it. Now, am I okay with Spider-Man joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I think as a character who enters the universe, it works great. Well, I don't mind a Spider-Man in, Avengers 3. That's cool.
Well,
yeah, I don't
know if I'm going to bother seeing his standalone movie, though.
They're saying he's going to be in Civil War. That's why all of the Phase 3 movies got shifted back.
I'm not comfortable with him being. I mean, I know I even mentioned that in the article that I wrote, but Spider-Man's part in Civil War is I mean, now granted, there's no reason that they'd have to adapt what's straight from the comic, but what he does in the comic of Civil War works better when he is already an established person. And him as a teenager, I don't know. Introducing the character, then having him join Iron Man, then having him have a change of heart, that's just a lot of... I don't know.
I think with the character, there's not a lot to introduce. I mean, Spider-Man shows up. Everybody knows who Spider-Man is.
Right.
Spider-Man is a known character. He's not gonna. It's not gonna be a shock.
It's not like Hawkeye, where everyone's like, "Why is he an Avenger? He just showed up for 5 minutes in Thor." But look, Hawkeye, great character. I'm okay also with the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Hawkeye, but you got to admit, Black Widow had some build-up, with Iron Man 2. Hawkeye was just kind of
that weird guy in Thor.
Yeah, He's not important in Thor. Coulson is more deserving to be one of the Avengers off of the events of Thor than Hawkeye. But
Hey, Coulson was an Avenger. Didn't you watch the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? He
Yeah.
really was one.
Oh.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see where Marvel how they use Spider-Man with Sony's permission in the upcoming Phase 3 movies. I'm not
want to
sure
be excited for this. I want this to be good.
trying to find the new release date. The new release date for Marvel's Phase 3 is going to be that May 6th is let's see. Finding the updates here. Here we go. The new release dates are May 6th, 2016 for Captain America Civil War, November 4th, 2016 for Doctor Strange, May 5th, 2017 for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which got bumped up a little bit, which means July 27th, 2017 is when Spider-Man's out. November 3rd of that year is Thor Ragnarok. May 4th, 2018 is Avengers Infinity War Part 1, so on and so forth. Pretty much everything getting bumped back a little bit, except for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is now getting bumped
Well, that got
up.
moved forward a little before that.
Yeah.
Like, it's been at that date for a little while.
The other goofy thing is, so Kevin Feige is working as a producer on the Sony end for Spider-Man, but this basically means, let me get this straight, so Spider-Man is going to have his own movies, but no one from the Marvel movies can show up in his movies. He can just show up in their movies, right?
Yeah.
Is that how this... Okay.
I think so.
I think that's how I understood it. But okay, just making sure I
but
understand
that's
that
not
right.
really a huge detriment because it's not like a huge number of Marvel supporting characters showed up in Thor 2.
This is true.
You know? So it's I don't think it's going to constrict storytelling. I think it's just going to be, these are the stories about Peter Parker. And I will say, if he's a high schooler, it would make sense why he's not hanging out with the other Avengers all the time.
That's true.
That would be a great write-in for them. That would make great sense.
We just aren't allowed to go to that side of New York Stark Tower, or excuse me, Avengers Tower is on, because that we can't acknowledge that in this movie. It's there, but we can't see
I was going to say. Well, they might get permission to, they might do that.
I think it'd be great if when all the new Marvel movies get released, if we get flashbacks and Spider-Man's just hanging out in the background of all of them.
Well, all the Netflix shows. Daredevil, aka Jessica Jones,
put Spider-Man on a building somewhere, just on a wall, have him hanging out.
Yeah. Because there's so much stuff in New York in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. Because the whole Defenders thing is New York.
Nowhere else needs to be kept safe. We have space and New York. That's it.
That really is. I mean, both the
screw
Defenders and the Avengers are going to be based out of New York. Which is, per normal, but this is what happens when you let a bunch of people from New York write comics. It really is. Because they don't really, they really think they are the whole world.
This is true.
Just look at Marvel Comics in general. I mean, we had West Coast Avengers for a while, but, besides the fact that everything's apparently either in America or a fictional country, with occasional stuff in England,
Union Jack needs to get his due. Hey, wait a minute. Do not forget Alpha Flight. They are protecting Canada from all sorts of stuff.
The Great Lakes Avengers were a joke. But Chicago's the third largest city in the world. But anyways, in the world, well, in the Marvel world, because it's only focused on the United States. Anyways,
so
let's move on.
That's the big story, though. Spider-Man joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So be on the lookout for him in Avengers 3 and all the other Phase 3 movies, because now that Marvel has him, boy golly, are they going to try and get their mileage
He's
out
just
of him.
going to swing through the background of every single one.
Yep.
Now, talking about things snuck into the background.
Good segue. Well done, sir.
Another thing happened
Bravo.
right about the same time as this Spider-Man news coming out, and that's in the middle of the night, On FXX, the channel for shows not good enough to make it onto FX, and
God.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. On FXX, a show called Winter Dragon aired in the middle of the night, and it was a Wheel of Time pilot. It was a bizarre adaptation of like the first 6 pages of the prologue from Eye of the World, the first Wheel of Time book, which pretty much means it's Luz Theron going crazy and finding out he's killed his family.
Oh.
Spoiler! It's the first 6 pages. And it went on air with no fanfare, with no news. Was
there even any advertising for it?
There was zero advertising.
I didn't
In
think
fact,
there was, because
the Wheel of Time blogs,
FXX.
the Wheel of Time blogs found out about it just from TV listings, because it was something called Winter Dragon, and it was about Lewis Theron. They misspelled Luz Theron in the description. But no, it was a really faithful adaptation of the first 6 pages. And it had really bad CGI in the beginning, but overall it was professionally shot. It had Billy Zane in it.
That's how you know it's legit. There's Billy Zane.
And so everyone was wondering what the heck was going on. It was produced by Red Eagle Entertainment. And there was literally no news about it. Like, it just went up and nobody said anything. Now, we do know now, within a day, Robert Jordan's widow, Harriet McDougal Rigney, who's also his editor and runs his estate and the rights to Wheel of Time, she claimed she didn't know what was going on and all this stuff. Well, it turns out Red Eagle made it and paid FXX, I hate the name of your network, and paid FXX for the airtime. So it pretty much ran like an infomercial. And the reason they did it is because they needed to get something on air by February 11th or they'd lose the rights to Wheel of Time. So they quickly produced this. Now, and now Red Eagle Entertainment is suing Harriet McDougal Rigney, the widow of Robert Jordan, because she made public statements that, Red Eagle didn't have the rights and that Universal had the rights and all this stuff. But Red Eagle says they do have the rights. They had temporarily leased them to Universal, and they're really confused why Robert Jordan's widow is saying this stuff, because she's physically been present in meetings they've had with Sony where they're trying to sell the rights to Sony. And they're really mad because they feel like it undermines their position in the negotiations with Sony. So, this weird half-hour pilot for a Wheel of Time series was purely done for legal reasons.
That's beautiful.
It's amazing.
That's the most inspiring story.
Well,
on this
really,
document.
Anything can get done if you put your mind to it and
they
are
spent
working
so
under the
much
gun.
money and bought airtime in 1:30 in the morning on a cable network and just tossed it up there. The balls of this move is just amazing.
Maybe not the most informed or, intelligent decision. But,
no, it's brilliant because it literally does, fulfill the obligations of their contract. They literally just had to make something and put it out there. And they got to keep the rights. It's
it works for me.
Well, think about it. They could have either sat down and fought through negotiations, or they can just pay Max Ryan and Billy Zane some money.
I just imagine the conversation
somebody's house.
We need to cast somebody. We need to cast somebody. What do you want? Somebody just he's like, oh, how about Billy Zane? And everybody stops and looks. Brilliant. Somebody call him. He's not doing anything right now.
Well, Max Ryan plays Luz Theron, and then Billy Zane plays one of the Forsaken. I don't know if either of you two have read Wheel of Time.
I'm not super familiar.
Nope. I haven't read it.
Bad guy. Okay, so Wheel of Time, the book starts out with, Luz Theron, who is the dragon, this big, super wizard guy. Easiest way to explain it to people who've never read the book. But he had just effectively defeated the devil.
Oh.
He had just defeated, the Dark One and imprisoned him, but the bad guys like managed to taint the male half of the one power that Wizards channel, the Aes Sedai, but wizards.
Okay.
So any male magic user would go crazy. So even though he pretty much defeated the devil, he went home, went crazy, killed his whole family.
Wow.
And so the book opens with him like hallucinating, and then like one of the Forsaken, who are like these evil guys who serve the devil effectively, you know, to simplify it, briefly giving him sanity so he finds out what he did, that he just murdered his whole family.
See, the part about this whole situation that I find funniest is that I know there had to have been someone out there. I refuse to believe that there wasn't someone out there like me back in 2000. No, it was 2001. When I was watching the Sci-Fi Channel at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and Doctor Who the movie came on, and I honestly thought it was a pilot for something new, and I waited with bated breath for the next part of the show to come on at some point.
To be fair,
then when I was finally rewarded, I got Christopher Eccleston, and I was really confused. I thought I missed a regeneration.
No.
That is a true story.
So the next Nick was essentially born where somebody's out there like, oh my god, this was great. When's the next one coming out?
I'm really glad that not this week, but last week we posted for Throwback Thursday your Doctor Who video, in which you're the most optimistic I've ever heard you talk about Stephen Moffat.
I know, isn't this weird time capsule?
It was the funniest damn thing. Oh my god. Oh,
I still need to record the follow-up to that. I should do that this week.
The follow-up is just Nick really angry and throwing things. Same as my son. Hey, Nick, do you remember how hopeful you were? And then it just, like, we'll just do a slide cut of, like, happy Nick Izumi, and then just, like, go over just, like, angry and grumpy Nick Izumi.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah, like the next Nick Izumi is out there. Watch this pilot at 1:30 in the morning and is waiting for the next one. Really excitedly.
The interesting thing is that Wheel of Time is a property with a lot of potential to like for someone to adapt it into some sort of long form like series. I think a TV series is the best way to go because it's just so big.
It's a huge universe, my understanding.
It's Wheel of Time books, but the best thing about Wheel of Time is it's finished. It's done. It took the author dying.
So you're saying that it's not going to fall into the hands of some other writers because the author refuses to speed up.
Right. Well, Robert Jordan had an illness at the end of his life where he knew he was dying, and so he wrote down an outline for everything to happen. So if he couldn't finish the book, someone else could finish the book with his plot. And so that's Brandon Sanderson, who was a successful fantasy author on his own, but was also a lifelong Wheel of Time fan, was then brought in to finish the books using Robert Jordan's outlines. And Robert Jordan wrote sections of some of the book. Like, I think the final scene in Wheel of Time is actually, like, the final scene that Robert Jordan had locked down for years and years and years. Because originally it was going to be a 4-book series. Not 14.
Then things got crazy.
They did.
Oh, well.
And then they get really boring for books like 5 through 8, 4 through 8. Nothing happens.
Those are the filler episodes.
Oh my god. These things are, like, when I talk about how thick these books are, we're talking like these
Family
are not
Bible
small
thick.
books. Let me see if I've got one over here.
You know, I had a really great transition to the next topic, and then we went back to Wheel of Time, and now I don't have a good transition.
This is one of the shorter ones.
Incredible.
I'll have to take your word for it.
This one's only 700 pages long.
So
they're
Wheel
big
of Time.
books.
That
And now
happened.
Now it's got a TV show, or at least
Now
one
it's got
episode.
a TV pilot. It's
It
got
has
one
a
episode.
pilot that will go nowhere, and no one knows why it's called Winter Dragon. Like, we get the dragon half because Luz Theron was the dragon, but it doesn't take place in winter.
because winter is coming, Trey. You gotta cash in on other popular fantasy things.
There is one of the book titles does have winter in it. I will say that, but no.
We'll count it.
Okay, that works.
Doing it live. But yeah, that was a thing.
That was a
Well, I
thing
guess-
that happened.
Speaking of things that are happening, continuing forward.
Not as great of a transition, but we'll go with it.
Not as great of a transition. I would have had a good one because this next transition does go into Doctor Who land, which does relate to the Master, actually, who was the villain of the 1996 movie that I saw in 2001.
You're trying.
I'm desperately trying. I'm so sorry. Spoilerage territory, but yes, it has been confirmed that in Series 9 of New Doctor Who, Michelle Gomez will be returning as a favorite Doctor Who nemesis. That's right, our female master is back. And I'm ecstatic. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought she was stonking amazing in Series 8.
She's such a great actress. Yeah, no, she's so good.
And she was having so much fun being crazy, and
That's what Michelle Gomez does. Anytime she shows up in a movie, and she's acting sane, you know she's going to go insane by the end of the film.
I'm okay with that.
Well,
I'm really
have you ever
good-
watched Green Wing?
I have not watched Green Wing.
Watch Green Wing. She is hilarious in that as the hospital's HR director. Oh,
Noted.
yeah. It's also got Stephen Mangan in it. It's got Tamsin, what's her name? I don't remember. From episodes.
I'm not sure what else to say about this one, though, because she was just really good.
Yeah, she's going to be in the opening two-parter.
Good.
Can they maybe drop the Missy name though?
I really hope
Yeah.
so.
Let's just call her the mistress or the master and leave it at that. 'cause
Right. I don't even understand why we can't call her the master, because
it
it's
works.
not even yes, at one point master was a gendered term, but the only context in which that term is still used today, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
And
see
she's
why...
the freaking master. Just call her the master.
When the doctor eventually takes on a woman's body, I mean, they're not gonna change it to the nurse or anything like that. It's still gonna be the doctor. Why don't we just go with the master? I don't. That's weird to me.
Crazy idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Michelle Gomez a lot.
It's almost like Stephen Moffat doesn't write women well.
Well, and that's the whole thing, is that
It's
Michelle Gomez's performance saves anything that I have wrong with the character.
it's true.
Any criticism I have is lifted because Michelle Gomez's performance is just so good.
I was about to say, well, the thing about the Series 8 finale is that it reminded me of a Russell T Davies finale in that the writing and the plot made very, very little sense. If you pause to think about it for more than a millisecond, nothing makes sense. But the performances are so good that you can forgive it. Because they're just that good.
Well, she's my favorite master now.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, she just knocked it out of the park. I cannot wait.
Way better than Eric Roberts, for sure, at least.
Well, that's because Eric Roberts is by far the worst master. In fact, the poorly done CG snake thing from that same movie, still a better master. I'm saying it.
I
Yeah.
don't think he was that bad.
No, the CG snake thing. I could have dealt with more of him. Justice for CG Snake Thing 2015.
Well,
Everyone listening to the show, take to Twitter with that. Justice.
hashtag it. Hashtag justice for snake thing.
Yeah.
Hashtag. Okay, we have an episode title. Justice for Snake Thing.
Hashtag justice for CGI.
Hashtag
Snake
justice for
thing.
snake thing.
Oh, I don't even have a transition for this. How do you? Anyway, so we're gonna check in on DC things, but weirdly enough, this is one of those situations where we're not going into DC, looking at it through the DC Carnival of Sadness.
But do 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 do. No.
But it's not sad, Trey. I don't like. We aren't getting sad.
I don't
things
know.
necessarily out of this.
Look at the color tones.
It could be
Okay,
sad,
yeah.
but we'll get there eventually. But so back, we talked about this a few months ago. The Suicide Squad movie was announced by DC, and we got quite the cast list given to us by DC, which included at the time Will Smith playing Deadshot, Jared Leto as a Joker, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and Tom Hardy as Rick Flagg. Well, Tom Hardy's not Rick Flagg anymore because Tom Hardy dropped out of Rick Flagg. But it's okay
Like
because
a
we
chump.
have a new Rick Flagg.
Yes.
It's being reported that the actor that played in the RoboCop reboot, Joel Kinnaman, is going to be cast as Rick Flagg in the
He's
upcoming...
done good things too.
Well, doing his most recent thing.
The Killing was more recent. This last season
Was it?
was.
No,
Well-
I thought the last season of The Killing came out before, like, earlier this
When
year,
did the
or earlier
Netflix
last
season
year.
come out?
Early 2014.
When did RoboCop come out?
Like mid 2014.
I thought the final season of The Killing came out later.
No, I think it was pretty much released at the beginning of 2014. Anyway,
I don't know. It was straight to Netflix, so
It was.
whenever I watched it.
so he looks like he fits. He's going to fit the part. I mean, it's been announced initially. Joel Edgerton and John Bernthal, potentially Jake Gyllenhaal, were all supposedly approached for the role, but it sounds like they are setting on Joel Kinnaman for this role in the Suicide Squad movie, which again is a movie that's happening.
Well, I mean, like, if they screw
Probably.
this up, all of the Rick Flagg fans are going to get really upset after all. They don't
they're,
want to...
they're going to receive at least 3 angry emails.
Well, Joel Kinnaman's really good. He's a really
He
good
is.
actor, so I think this is good casting news. It's
I still don't know how I feel about the Suicide Squad movie. Like, other than it being feeling like
know
a shameless
exactly
cash
how I
grab from
feel
the success
about
from Guardians of the Galaxy, but
that's how I feel
well, so
about it.
I finally saw what Margot Robbie looks like.
yeah, she's in that new Will Smith movie,
Yeah.
and she's phenomenal for the role. She looks
Well,
like
I didn't see that. I did see the episode of Top Gear a week ago where they were the guests and interviewed. But so I finally got to see what she looked like talking, which I know is like a weird thing, but like when you're assessing whether or not someone's right, especially for... My real question is she going to be able to do the Harley Quinn voice? Because most of these characters in these movies like originated from comics, so any interpretation of the voice is kind of valid. Harley originated in a
the
TV
animated
show
series.
and then got brought into the comics. So
And she's always had that accent. I mean, they
the
brought
only
the
version of
accent
her
into the
that
comics.
hasn't is her representation in Birds of Prey, the TV series.
And we all know how we feel about Birds of Prey, the TV.
It was really entertaining at the time.
So you
And I'm
keep
very
saying.
disappointed that the DVD release does not have all the things she said playing over the final fight scene. They couldn't get the rights, so now it's just a generic, like, techno song. Because it's the most hilarious thing in the world to have your most dramatic fight scene of the whole series and the series finale be put to the music of Tattoo.
You know, I didn't know that it was supposed to go there because for some reason my fiance owns those DVDs.
Well,
But when I get to that finale, if I ever bother to, I'm going to pull that song up and play it over
there are many things wrong with the DVD release, like the replacement of the best part of that whole show, the theme song. Like, the original theme song is so different from what's on that release.
Yeah, I was curious about that because the theme song on the DVD release is like super weak. Just
Let me
saying.
see if I can pull that up real quick. Amy Allen Revolution. The internet works for us, not against us.
That's not true. That's not true, and you know it.
And let's hit play on the YouTube video. I have. Let's make sure an ad doesn't play. Getting through a pre-roll ad.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what?
Here we go. This is what that show originally had.
Holy shite!
I just see this fight. I see this fight happening to this.
This is totally different from what's on the TV.
Yeah, I know. It's like with Charmed, at least they tried to, like, put a song that sort of sounded like How Soon Is Now. But with Birds of Prey, they just didn't even try. Because this is the part that mostly plays. So that's
Incredible.
enough of a taste there, so we don't get yanked by the copyright police.
Probably still going to happen, but we're worth it.
But like I said, like, it sets a totally different tone for the show.
Yeah, wow.
No, it's all the best parts of that Birds of Prey TV series was the soundtrack, and half of it's gone in the DVD release. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
No. So that's gonna be good to see. I mean, like Margot Robbie, of course, like we just talked about.
Oh, yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Together. I mean, she's still Harley Quinn. They've still got everybody except now they've got Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flagg for the Suicide Squad movie.
Once again, those Rick Flagg fans, don't let them down.
Yeah.
And then now the big
Both of
DC move. Big DC news, excuse me, that I'm myself am excited for is we got a look at Aquaman. Yes, Zack Snyder on Thursday, February the 19th, tweeted out a picture of Jason Momoa, of course known as Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones,
Or Ronan Dax from Stargate Atlantis, or Conan.
I'm about to say other
Barbarian.
Conan.
other Conan. In a very dark picture, beard, long straggly hair, really cool, like Islander tattooing, armor, the trident, and it says "Unite the Seven" across the picture. Now, of course, the seven referring to the 7 members of the Justice League or the 7 Seas, if you want to do something with that. What?
I don't know. Keep going.
This isn't a comedy from the early 2000s. Why is that song?
No,
playing?
I don't. Anyway,
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't hear anything.
no, okay, we'll let it go. But no, this picture looks very cool. He looks very intense. That trident looks cool. The armor looks cool. I just wish that it had some color.
I want to say I'm with you on the color thing, but going back to the episode when Jason Momoa was first announced, and when we had Reyna on, I just want to say called it, because...
What? What's happening?
I just want to say called it, because we were thinking 90s Aquaman, and this is a pretty aggressively 90s Aquaman.
It's straight 90s Aquaman. It's pretty much the mullet costume with the armor down the right arm.
I'm totally good with, like, I wish there was color, but it's the same thing with that I thought with the Wonder Woman costume. I'm totally good with this.
Yeah, and there may be color in the actual costume. It's just a Photoshop filter on the photo, so it's hard to tell. Like, all the photos of Cavill's Superman costume looked really dark in the pre-release photos, but if you look in the movie, it really is blue. Like, it's blue.
It's still pretty muted in the movie, but... Yeah.
But everything's muted in that movie, except the IHOP.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta go get my short stack somewhere.
I love IHOP.
This is
Give it a breakfast sampler.
We don't actually have sponsors yet. We don't need advertising.
We don't need to advertise.
This is just me advocating what we should all do after the show. Is individually go to different IHOPs.
I don't have an IHOP in the closest IHOP is in Minneapolis for me.
I actually have an IHOP in walking distance, so that's.
I have an IHOP 5 minutes down the road.
Yeah, I don't have that luxury.
24 hours, man.
I know. I'm really angry that I don't have one. But
get the split decision, so you get like the French toast and the pancakes and the bacon and the sausage and eggs.
That's great. No, we've got a really great. This photo is really cool. It's got a lot of people excited for the Aquaman movie, which I'm not sure that a lot of people were super excited for before.
They can shut up. It's going to be great.
This has really stoked the excitement for the Aquaman movie. So check out that photo if you can.
The timing was also good because they're straight-to-video DVD Blu-ray movies. They just did Justice League Throne of Atlantis, which was an Aquaman origin story. And that was honestly mostly pretty okay, aside from the fact that it's still New 52, so Superman Wonder Woman is still an awful thing in it. But
well, it's really good timing because Warner Brothers want everyone to shut up about Spider-Man.
That too.
Well, that's exactly what was happening, right? I mean, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, that's true.
We'd had like 2 weeks of solid Spider-Man. I was so happy when that came out because I was like, yay! Not Spider-Man or Deadpool.
Speculating about Spider-Man. Hey, speaking of Deadpool.
Yeah,
speaking of Deadpool, we've had a lot of Deadpool news. In fact, it's been the Deadpool-pa-looza. I'm funny. And
the Deadpool-looza, some might say.
I went Deadpool-pa-looza because the the Deadpool, like syllable-wise, it works better. I know that letters-wise, we do have a lead in there, but, if you're doing word replacing when writing lyrics, you want something that fits the beat properly. So anyways, we've had a lot of Deadpool stuff. It started out with the rather uninteresting photo that Ryan Reynolds put out of the prototype Deadpool mask in sepia tone.
Yep, looks like the mask.
It looks like a Deadpool mask. Exciting? I mean, it's nice to know that they're moving along, but, it's still, look, it's Ryan Reynolds and a Deadpool mask. But interesting news actually has come out. First is that the script will feature both the characters Colossus and Angel Dust. Colossus, who's normally played by Daniel Cudmore, apparently, though, won't be appearing. That's what the current news is that he won't be reprising the role that he's played in several X-Men movies. Yeah, that's... Yeah. Angel Dust will be played by Gina Carano. Angel Dust as a character is usually a member of the Morlocks, so...
Hey, Morlocks, they're fun.
Yeah. Well, she's a mutant whose powers are that, she can force release adrenaline so she can have boosts of super strength, but then she gets, worn out from it. Gina Carano is an actress, but she's also a former MMA fighter.
Yeah, cool. Sorry.
So I think I know very little about the character beyond the basic superpowers, and I know very little about this actress because I haven't really watched anything she's in, but that seems like good casting to me for someone who's good at punching, to cast someone good at punching. And then finally, with the casting, we've been told that Morena Baccarin, who is well known from everything you've ever watched,
pretty much,
that's been put out in the last 10 years, because it's hard to it's easier to name sci-fi franchises she hasn't shown up in the past decade than it is to find ones than it is to list the ones she's been in. So but she's going to be the female lead and a rumored love interest, which is a little weird for a Deadpool movie.
I'd say Deadpool kind of has love interests now and then, but usually it's more of a... He's not good with humans in general. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't really... his only real friend was basically Cable, and everyone else just kind of puts up with him. It's...
We're talking about a character who spent an entire issue masturbating.
Yes.
Thank you, Gail Simone.
Yeah, I was going to say Gail Simone wrote that issue.
And Marvel put it out.
Oh,
Marvel
so
put out an
Deadpool.
entire issue of Deadpool where he's masturbating.
Mind you,
Ryan Reynolds
for
is
all
well
those at
cast.
home, don't worry, you don't actually see him. You mostly.
Well, it's going to be nice to see Ryan Reynolds on screen with another star of Firefly.
Yeah. It's
Because it's been so long since Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Oh, man. It took us a year and a half to get to this point, but we made it Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place reference. Time it. Bam.
I'm
You
sure
did it. Good work.
I know I made
that
one.
was even a thing until you mentioned it just
I've
now.
mentioned it in earlier episodes because Nathan Fillion had a major role in that show.
Did you really?
Yeah, he played the love interest to the girl.
He played
Oh,
the
okay,
pizza
so we got
place, as
two-
it so
we got-
happens.
No. He was
We
the
got
boyfriend.
two references to that show now in a year and a half. Good work, team.
He was the boyfriend to the female lead. The female lead who went on to play Natalie on Monk. I can't remember her name. It's driving me nuts.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
But
Great.
I could bring everything back to everything because that had Tony Shalhoub, and Tony Shalhoub was in Galaxy Quest, and I'm sure
With
I can
Tim
make a connection
Allen.
off of that.
Who was in
yeah.
Home Improvement with the guy that played Wilson, and you never saw his face. You know whose face you don't ever see? Deadpool's.
That's not true.
Actually, you see his
I've seen
face all the
Deadpool's
time. It's this
face
horrible
all the time.
cancer-encrusted
It's
mess.
disgusting.
Yeah. He just-
Are you saying, wait, but the neighbor was Wilson?
and he's
Wade
Wade Wilson.
Wilson?
God damn
that's-
it.
Right? Deadpool was on Home Improvement.
There we go. Deadpool was the neighbor the whole time. We never knew what Wilson did for a living.
He's a mercenary.
He just kills people. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense.
There we go.
Good.
That's a decades-old mystery has been solved thanks to us at Nerd and Tie. You're welcome, everybody.
This is the weirdest episode ever.
This is gonna be the whole Deadpool thing. I'm curious how a Deadpool solo movie will go, because a lot of internet people seem to like Deadpool because of his reputation, but I don't know that a lot of them would want to actually. I don't know, like his stories.
His book sells.
His books sell, I guess. I don't know. I've met a lot. I guess I don't meet a lot of people who actually read Deadpool. I know a lot of people who like the concept of Deadpool, which is not a bad thing, mind you.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what I doubt that
Well,
they're
I think
going
the
to
movie
go with
will
the
go
darker
very well
book.
because of that. Whether or not people will like it is another question.
I don't say yeah. I don't know if they because when Deadpool's at his best, in my opinion, as an on and off Deadpool reader, he's at his best when they go full on black comedy. And I almost feel like this would have to be like an R-rated Kick-Ass kind of thing.
Well, I think they're
Like-
going R-rated.
Oh, thank God! Yeah,
Well, because
that's-
the test
I think-
footage that got this thing greenlit was that CGI stuff.
I hated that test footage.
Well,
Oh,
but that's
okay.
the feel they're
Honest with you
going for.
guys. I know that's what that's the other thing I'm worried about. I did not enjoy that test footage in the slightest.
I guess I liked it, so
I
liked it.
it played on my screen. That's something positive I can say about it.
If
Yeah.
her and I don't move, we look like still images on the video.
The hell?
True. I'm not moving. Anyway, so no, that's a lot of good Deadpool news coming out. This movie is just going to be amazing. It's going to be explosions everywhere. I look. It's gonna.
I'm not
hoping it's
calling
like a
anything
pure-
amazing until I see it.
I'm
Alright.
hoping it's a pure '80s action romp. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm hoping it's the remake of Commando we've always wanted.
Right?
Especially with the tool shed scene played as a comedy.
God.
You ever watch Commando? Go watch Commando. The bad guy
All right.
looks like a buff Freddie Mercury.
Awesome.
Sure does.
And,
well, that's a
Arnold
Okay.
Schwarzenegger, like there's a tool shed scene, which is really
There sure is. There sure is, Trey.
well. Speaking of tool shed,
I don't want to. Let's not talk about it on the air, though. 'Cause It's rough.
Speaking of sheds, I think a lot of us would agree that our watershed moments are when we go to cons.
I agree, Nick.
Yeah,
And
because that's when we swear a lot.
And boy, Nick, did you and I ever go to a con last weekend?
We just this last weekend we got to attend Anime Milwaukee again.
Again, for the what is it now? This is the 4th year we've been there, 5th year. I've been there. I've been going every year since 2010, but this is the 4th year we've performed.
I thought that I have not been there every year. It was one of the first. I think that was the second show I was officially an Otaku Tonight member at, though, and I think it was the first show that you guys let in with one of my jokes. But
we opened with your joke, and then we had you drinking heavily over Turn A Gundam, and then you drove your car off a cliff.
Yeah, that when I died because of Gundam. Which is a pretty realistic expectation, really.
But I had a lot of fun, Nick. What about you? Did you?
I did enjoy myself. There were a lot of good things. There were. I'm very sad I didn't actually get to meet Steve Bloom, but I feel that. And sadly, I didn't really get to see much of what else was going on there. I
didn't really either.
I know that the Otaku Tonight panels were excellent. Whose Line Is It Anime had a fantastic cast that just I really feel rocked everyone's socks. The stand-up set that we did, I feel very strongly about my own set, and with my own self-esteem issues, that's kind of rare. So
you know what I found out too? Like, I didn't realize this. That wasn't in the program guide apparently.
What?
Yeah, stand-up was not listed in the event guide, and we still had about 40 people in that room.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll take it.
There were weird parts of this con.
There were.
Or maybe you should say some of your good parts before I get to a weird part we were both there for.
Just generally, I had a lot of fun that weekend performing for people. I mean, performing is one of my passions, and it's always fun to be able to talk to people. Shout out to Martin Billany, known as Little Karibo. He for his continuing support of our stuff. Whenever he can, he likes to be on our events. Likes to help us out when he can. So special thanks to him.
He ended up helping me a lot more than I expected him to this weekend.
I heard about that. That was very cool of him. Very nice. Very good.
I did have a brief, not so good bout with my own depression. I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, what the hell? I've been honest with it. There's no point in hiding it. I deal with like depression and self-esteem issues all the time. Martin was talking about his new series where he talks about dealing with that, and I wanted to talk to him for a little bit. And I just started breaking down again. And to the guy's credit, he actually closed his autograph line to help me through it, which was amazing. And he's just a wonderful human being. Yeah. Martin Billany, Little Karibo, one of the best humans I've ever encountered. Great man.
And I hope he's at more cons that we're at so we can do more with him because he's always fun to have. And
he's hilarious.
He's a great...
he's a comic genius. I mean, really great guy.
So it's good to have him. It was good to have him on, and it was just good to see people that I consider family, more family than friends, to be honest. So, although, hey, Anime Milwaukee, people that go to Anime Milwaukee, can we not do that start screaming in the hotel at 10 o'clock thing anymore? Can we put a stop to that? Because it's annoying. There's no point to it. And it's just...
See, I was not there, but I will say this is I've been to Anime Milwaukee before, and it has a much younger crowd than a lot of other conventions do.
Yeah.
That was noticeable. Why is because it's it's the only con in a major city in Wisconsin, really. And so for anime cons at least. And it means that all of the high schoolers who can't go to places like Daisho Con and can't go to places like, No Brand Con, they go to Anime Milwaukee, which drives the age down. And so you end up with a much younger demographic, and those are the people who starts screaming at 10 at night, and at 3 in the morning, and at 5 in the morning.
Yep.
They're also the kind of people who, in my experience there, it seems like a lot of them don't even know that smaller cons are a thing.
Well,
like,
why would they? Because they live in a city.
True.
I mean, and that's why, like, I'm really glad that, like, for any convention I've been to in Milwaukee, I get to stay at my parents' house when I do go. Like, when I went to Anime Milwaukee, I just drove home.
That's probably a good move on your part.
House.
Right.
Yeah.
It was frigid that weekend. It was cold. That wasn't their fault, but that was awful.
Well,
it was terrible.
Wisconsin in February.
Like, yeah, but I mean, ugh.
So,
at least there were skywalks everywhere.
That's true. But it was a good time. I had fun. It was good to see you, Nick, as always.
It was great to see you, Pher. Now, we had some weird encounters, though.
We did.
The one that comes to mind was when Pher and I were first surveying the con site. One of the first things I noticed while I was waiting in line to get my badge was that there was a big sign, taller than some of the young kids who were at the event, for a hentai art exhibition. And it was right next to the reg line. It was
literally like a poorly. I wish we had a picture of it. Like, and it wasn't even well drawn. Like, the contours of this girl's bottom were not correct. Like, her butt cheeks were almost non-existent based on the drawings. And just in giant words, it said, "Let's strawberry slut." I mean, just like,
what? It gets better than that. As Pher and I continued through the venue, we accidentally happened upon the room that it was in.
It was hard to not accidentally stumble upon it, Nick.
Because the doors were wide open. And we just took a look, barely glancing in the door.
And I turn to Nick and I say, "Yep, that's a dick." That is a thing that's happening in front of an open door. I mean, that's right there.
Where there are kids running, yeah.
That is porn right there. Like, that's
the most underage attended convention in the state.
Now, I will give Anime Milwaukee credit. By Saturday, they had those doors closed. They closed the doors. And the thing is, it was running during one of our events too, and it was like the happiest techno anime music ever. Like, I was performing over it, and it was just like the happiest sort of like. It was during match game, and I just like poor Thomas Sinclair, who we're losing him. He's moving out to California. He was the closest to the wall, and he was just like face palming the whole time. He's like, "This is the happiest porn music I've ever heard in my life."
This Japanese bubblegum pop just blaring. The only other big issue I had this year was their badge refund system.
Yeah, that was a weird thing.
Was awful. I'd call it weird, but I ended up seeing the results of it, and it was not good. Anime Milwaukee has, and they've done this in the past, they've had a system of you pay for them to refund a badge for a panelist. You still pay for your badge, and then they refund you at the end of the weekend. This year, the change that they made, though, was that when you got there, you were supposed to get a little ribbon for your badge that said panelist, and then after you did your panel, you were supposed to find the panel's head and have them stamp the back of your badge. Now, I found out about this from Pher, and I had a challenge of actually trying to find the panel's head to get my badge stamped.
Yeah, because that's a huge facility.
Most of the other panelists didn't know you had to do any of those things.
Yep.
So when I went to the customer helpline asking about it on Sunday, there were other people both in front of me and around me who were like, "What do you mean stamp? Well, where did you get that ribbon? What is any of this about?"
Yep.
none of them knew what was going on. So
You
yeah.
know, in my years of con running, this is what I say. I'm glad No Brain Con never gave panelists free entry. Because, man, that would be really complicated to deal with.
You know, and I think for a con that big, especially for the work that we put into our events and whatnot.
Oh, well, I'm not saying you didn't deserve to get the badge.
The badges, like for at least the Otaku Tonight Productions team, and for some of the other groups that are out there, I mean, I think it's different than your standard, than individuals going in there and doing an Ask the Homestuck panel, like whatever. I think that's...
You two do realize that Nerd and Tie qualifies for press badges underneath their policies, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't
Nerd
realize
and Tie qualifies
that
for press badges at most anime cons.
Yeah, if any anime cons out there, you want to bring Nerd and Tie in, we'll do anything you want us to do.
Well,
anyway, so
right, but
or
I'm just
we can
saying
volunteer to get our press badges.
You can just go get a press badge sometimes and not have to pay to go to a con because you work for a legitimate news source covering Midwestern conventions.
It's good to know. But
we're legitimate.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, this is not a big field doing what we do. We're about the most legitimate Midwestern convention news source there is. Think about it for about 5 minutes.
I take pride in that. I take a certain degree of pride in that.
So, but well, Nick will be back at Anime Milwaukee next year, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'll go.
Oh yeah. It was
fun. Maybe you'll tag along this time.
Personally, I'm just looking forward to KuroshiCon.
I'm really excited for
March.
KuroshiCon. I am.
Even if their vendor head apparently doesn't understand the concept of a BCC. As I now know who all the other people selling at the con are. Like, I now know that Fast Food Anime is going to be there.
Uh-oh.
And I know that so will Anime Club. And so will Ineffective Carnivore. I also know that Anime Fan Zone's going to be there.
Yay! Take notes.
Last year, unfortunately.
Take notes.
They were there last year.
So, I haven't been at the same convention as them since I put one of them in a book.
Yep.
So we're going to see...
All right, well, we got to get to mailbag. Anime Milwaukee 2015 was a lot of fun. It had its issues like it always does, but this year I feel like they nailed it down a little bit more than they have in the past.
Yeah, it was much more solid than some of the previous ones I'd been to.
So, good work, Anime Milwaukee. We got mailbag!
Yay.
Mailbag!
Who wants to go first? That was really dystopian.
I'm never doing that again.
That was kind of, let's not do that again. That was weird. Anyway,
Why don't we do Worm's letter first?
His double letter.
Double letter that Worm sent us.
Do you have it up, Nick?
Read it. From Worm, subject, re-smoking in Marvel properties. Dear Doctors, Nerd, and Tie. Oh, cool. Nick would be correct that the lack of smoking would be an egregious error in accuracy in both Captain America, the First Avenger, and Agent Carter if they took place in the real world. It's been established, however, that it doesn't. The MCU is Earth 159. I'm just going to say 59. I'm going to pull Leiji Matsumoto. Whereas our reality is Earth 1218, with the main Marvel universe being Earth 616. The Ultimate universe is Earth 1610. Yes, I know I'm flashing my pedantic nerd card, but deal with it. However, that does bring up a question for you guys. Any opinion on Marvel's upcoming multi-universe ending Secret Wars? Looks like Miles Morales might end up swinging his webs alongside Peter Parker at the end of all of this. I'll take my answer off the air. Okay to print.
Because he thinks he's clever.
And
then he wrote more.
Then he wrote more. Okay. As an addendum to my previous email, just an FYI, there's a reason there's no more smoking in Marvel stuff that you can read about here. And he gives us the link, and I imagine we can post that later.
If I remember.
Marvel EI editor-in-chief Joe Quesada's grandfather... died from lung cancer, so he made the conscious decision to remove smoking from all Marvel stuff. And since he is still on the small council that consults with Kevin Feige for the MCU, that translated over there too. And really, it makes sense. Smoking can harm yourself and others, and that's a pretty unheroic thing for someone like Reed Richards to do. I do miss my cigar smoking thing, though.
Well, let's be honest here. Reed Richards hurts lots of people without smoking anyway, so let's be honest.
This multiverse thing bugs me because you could say that about any shows ever having any historical accuracy. Well, it clearly happened that way in the Downton Abbey universe. You know,
yeah,
like any historical drama has to be up to some sort of scrutiny, or else, like, you're saying you can't ever criticize a historical representation because it happens to occur in an alternate reality. Because every piece of fiction doesn't occur in our reality. You know?
Indeed.
So
I'm kind of with Trey on that one. I couldn't phrase it as well, but yeah. Honestly, I was just being a smartass, but
so Worm's just pushing his glasses up there, even though he doesn't really wear them.
As for the universe-ending stuff of Secret Wars, though, here's the thing. The Ultimates universe, I am going to shed 0 tears over. Because you know what was the only really good part of the Ultimates universe? Miles Morales. There he is. So,
Black Nick Fury.
Okay, yeah, but here's the thing. Black Nick Fury is already part of the regular Marvel universe.
Well, sort of. Nick Fury Jr., but that's not really... Like, in Ultimates, it's real Nick Fury, who's black.
Okay, yeah.
But the cinematic universe already has that, too.
But yeah, like, here's the thing. The Ultimates universe is the main thing that's getting killed by this, and let's all be honest here. The Ultimates universe has outlived its purpose. The original reason Ultimates came about was to present a simpler, more classic version of the characters.
Spider-Man 2002.
That is
literally why.
Mm-hmm. And
sell comic books to the people who watch Spider-Man 2002.
But here's the thing, is that now there is a simpler, easier to get a hold of version of the characters that's called the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's still less convoluted than what the Ultimates universe is, which is really, with an exception for the Spider-Man characters, is populated with asshole versions of characters who I could read about and not hate in other books. So...
I'm just making a prediction that Secret Wars turns into another Age of Apocalypse where it's really big for a few months and the universe changes and then afterwards everything goes back to normal.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm guessing too, or even Age of Ultron, but unlike Age of Apocalypse, Age of Ultron was awful and no one should read it.
Well, Age of Apocalypse we all knew was going to end really soon because it only affected the X-Men books. Only the X-Men ended up in an alternate reality. Like the rest of the Marvel Universe, 616 kept marching forward like nothing was wrong. But for 4 months, the X-Men reset all of history, and only their parts got shown. Like
they tried to address that better with House of M, so now you have collected editions of books where they skip over the House of M books entirely because they don't make any sense.
Yeah, but it's Secret Wars is just going to be Age of Apocalypse all over again in the sense that they're going to hit the big magic button, the Ultimate Universe will go away, but the status quo will return to Marvel books, and this whole battle world thing is stupid.
Yeah, a lot of people are upset about it, but the Marvel Universe has been doing its system, which internet reviewer Movie Bob described as the "a few years ago" method, which is everything just happened a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's like the Marvel timeline takes place over I think, is it 12 years now since 1960?
More or less, but
I know it was 9 years at the 30th anniversary of Spider-Man.
They're getting to the point though where they basically just go a few years ago. Hey,
because the whole point is that they don't want to give anything an exact date. The 9 years was an estimate. It's been about at the time.
Like the Ed Brubaker Captain America books would give like a more specific amount of time. But if you asked anyone else, hey, when was Captain America thought out? A few years ago. When did Civil War happen? A few years ago. You know, like.
Well, right, and I think that's good overall for the comic books, and it works really well. Like Captain America is lucky that he was just frozen for so long, so he gets to keep his origin locked into World War II, and then just when he got thawed changes.
Poor
Iron Man's the one who's a mess because they keep having to change which war he got. Like
he got shrapneled in. Yeah. It's
like it was the Vietnam War originally, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was originally Vietnam, and now I think it's Afghanistan as of right now. But who knows? It was the
Gulf War for a while. Then it was the second Gulf War.
Yeah, it's.
Oh man, that whole thing's a mess. Oh,
I love
Marvel Comics.
I absolutely love it.
Like that's why Iron Man just got screwed by this system. Like everyone else, it works because no one else has a real world like thing. Captain America does, but that's easy because
World War II is still there. Yeah,
yeah. The thaw just you move that date and everything's fine.
It just gets more tragic how many of his friends he grew up with are dead at this point. It really only serves to make him more of a sad person.
All right, let's move on to the next letter.
We got more letters, guys.
Okay, sorry.
Our next letter comes from Langland. Langland writes, yeah, his subject is Spider-Man and the Legend of Zelda. I would watch that crossover. Langland writes, hey there, awesome nerds in your ties. So I'm writing to share about the awesome news that is Spidey going to make it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I heard the news on the radio. The radio pronounced Marvel a bit differently. She pronounced it like this, Marvel.
Oh, so like the original Captain Marvel.
Yeah. So it was
the Marvel
weird,
Universe
anyways.
Captain Marvel.
But it was weird. But anyways, this is awesome news, and I'm excited. I hope we get a Spidey with mechanical web slingers again. Now I want to share about the Legend of Zelda series, and I just want to say I'm keeping an open mind. I will stay optimistic. Hey, Pher, we got to get lunch again sometime. That's all I got. Stay awesome.
Can I just say that mechanical web spinners are the dumbest piece of comic book science that I'm okay with in the comics when they happen, but they strain credulity because it makes Peter Parker a dick because he's developed this super science thing that like could be used as a non-lethal weapon by police departments that is biodegradable, and apparently cheap enough to manufacture on a high schooler's allowance. Yep. But he just keeps... That's the one great thing about the Sam Raimi films was the organic web spinners. Because you at least understand that, like, a high schooler didn't invent this shit. He just had it.
I'm fine with either way. Trey brings up a good point, but, you know...
Peter Parker's a dick.
Well, yeah, that and he makes really bad decisions, but that's his defining quality, is he makes really bad decisions and he feels guilty about it. Yes. In fact, if you pointed out his dickitude to him about the web slinger thing, he would spend 3 issues agonizing over it and feeling sad.
And if he was played by Tobey Maguire, his hair would swoosh across his face.
Mm-hmm. You know it.
Right on. So what else we got, Trey?
So you're gonna get lunch with Langland though, right?
I am. We had lunch. Okay. We had lunch about a month ago.
Okay, you're maybe gonna get lunch with him again though.
Again, absolutely. It's a hot dog place, so it was a good lunch, good meal.
All right. So our next letter comes from Bal Flanagan. Bal writes,
I know that person.
I know them.
I know them. Bal Flanagan is awesome. With the subject
Indeed.
webcomics. Sup, nerds? Long-time listener, first-time writer. I love listening to your podcast when I'm doing art at work. When I'm doing artwork, not art at work. That would be wrong. That's my mistake reading it. You do a wonderful job of keeping me company during those long studio hours. I appreciate that you cover all sorts of nerdy news, from Western comics to anime to conventions, but I haven't heard you talk about webcomics at all. They're a pretty substantial part of the nerdverse, and one of my favorite things is that artists are able to write about themes they care about, not limited by an industry view on what's socially palatable, what will sell, etc. A couple of my favorites are Sakana by Mad Rupert, who has done work for Adventure Time and regular show comics, Monsterkind by Taylor C., which is the last leg of its first book Kickstarter, and Maho Shonen Breakfast Club by Strange Star Comics, which just launched on Valentine's Day. Do you have any favorites you'd like to share? Well, first I want to talk about, like, we have covered webcomics stuff. With the whole, like, Pictures for Sad Children Kickstarter thing where John Campbell went nuts. And, like, I know it didn't make it onto the show, but, like, there's a whole thing with Yale, what's his name, and Yale Stewart, that we talked about, at least on the website. Maybe it got into a show, I don't remember. But we've covered webcomic stuff before. The reason why we don't talk about webcomics a lot on the show is because, honestly, 90% of webcomics news is X comic launched or X comic is running a Kickstarter to get a print edition out. And if we reported on, like, you know, Bob's Kickstarter, then Stephanie's Kickstarter not getting reported on makes us look like dicks. And we don't want to look like dicks. So we only talk about it, like, when there's major news, like John Campbell losing his or her goddamn mind, depending on whatever John Campbell is saying they are at the moment. Nobody knows. That's what happens when you put things as backer-only posts, and we can't read them. So I will say that. So that's why. So we do cover webcomics when there's something to cover. It's hard to cover.
When I tell you what though, when this Parking Gulls comic gets when it gets like a movie deal and a TV show and all that kind of stuff, we are going to be the first ones to report on that.
Yeah. So I will
go
say,
with
like,
Image or Dark Horse, so that way they don't get in the way of your vision, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say, for webcomics I actually read. To go to, like, that part of the question, it's I read Parking Gulls by Val Flanagan. Whenever
which is phenomenal, and everybody should read it.
Whenever they update it. I also read Dumbing of Age by David Willis religiously. I read his previous stuff, Short Packed, and It's Walkie is doing a re-release where he's, like, remastering the comics and putting them up every day. So that's his old Walkieverse stuff, which is really weird to compare that to his current stuff at Dumbing of Age. I read that. I was reading Lighter Than Air for a while, which is kind of a steampunky comic, but I stopped because it's got a little. It's good. I'd still read it. I've got to go back and catch up like 6 months. And then I am a webcomic artist, the creator of Unconventional and the Chronicles of Crowsarth. Read my comics. Pher, what are you reading?
I really enjoy Kate Beaton's Hark of Vagrant. Again, when that one updates, she's not been updating it as much lately. There was a brief time period where she was touring for her book and stuff like that. So there's a big stretch where there wasn't as many updates. But she's back on it. Ryan North. What's that?
I thought for some reason that, like, I thought that she had ended the comic.
No, it still updates occasionally. Hark of Vagrant will. Let me double check. I mean, there was a new one.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, it updates occasionally. It's not as much as she used to do, but I mean, it's there. Ryan North's Dinosaur Comics. I mean, like,
God, yeah, that's
it's
good.
Not art. Like, the art is there's no changing in the art, but the writing is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
David Malky's Wondermark is also phenomenal, and I love that. So those are kind of my big three web comics. Check those out: Hark of Vagrant, Wondermark, and Dinosaur Comics. Also, Ryan North, interestingly enough, is also writing currently my favorite in-print comic right now, Squirrel Girl, the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. So it's great. But those are my three. Nick,
Dr. Levenstein.
Yeah, Mr. Levenstein is pretty much my big. I don't read a whole lot of webcomics. Like, I read, I obviously read Unconventional by Trey Dorn.
Thank you for at least pretending to.
No, I've bought every print edition of your books, and I keep on the updates. That one I keep up with religiously. I do check in with. They don't update much anymore, but I really like absurdist humor webcomics. So Perry Bible Fellowship is one I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I bring up Mr. Lovenstein a lot because partly because it is such a brilliant piece of absurdist humor, and partly because I'm very good friends with the author J.L. Westover, who did just make his goal for his Kickstarter for his first print edition. So that should be coming out very soon. They actually still have a couple days left, so they're going for stretch goals right now. Yeah, it is a super funny webcomic. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's insane, but in all the best ways.
See, I don't run Kickstarters. I just put books out. You can go find my stuff on Amazon.com.
Well, excuse me. Never. I'm really excited. Anyway, I'm really excited for that book. I cannot wait to have it on my shelf. It will probably go next to Trace books, maybe.
I haven't read a lot of Mr. Lovenstein, but the strips I've read I've enjoyed, like the one with the cow and the shark and so, that was brilliant.
We've got a Vomit Hat Steve challenge to go through. Anyway, Belle, thank you so much. Belle, thank you so much for writing into us. We were glad to have your letter on here, and yeah.
And I'm glad we get to hang out with you, even if it's just hearing us rant at each other.
Right. Yes, because Bal Flanagan is good people, and I look forward to seeing Bal Flanagan at No Brand Con in April.
Absolutely. It's good to know that our stretch
at Kitsune, which
are they going to be there?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh man, I know who I'm suggesting as our guest performer on Who's Line for that. So perfect.
All right. So moving on to the Vomit Hat Steve challenge. We always follow up our mailbag with Vomit Hat Steve challenge. Where what it is that every episode I read part of a book, whether it be one line, a paragraph, whatever, and the challenge is for you to guess what book it is. If you guess correctly, you get inducted into our Hall of Awesome. The benefits of the Hall of Awesome are as follows. You get to have your name read aloud on the show every episode. That's it. That's all the benefits to being in the Hall of Awesome.
And you get to continue to be alive. That's pretty good.
But that's not guaranteed, though. No. That's just like you're as likely to be alive if you're in the Hall of Awesome as you would if you're not. Your odds do not change.
Well, you just ruined my big motivation for people.
All right, so the current members of the Hall of Awesome are Arkamai Zero, Rena Innocenti, Cheesy McDamn, Krista, Slithery D, Shameless Otaku, The Random Ramblings Man, Corfan, Capito, and Chris Graham. Those are the people currently in there. Now, last couple of episodes I've been doing the same book, and I'm going to continue doing it on this one, too. Mostly so I don't have to go find a new book, and since no one's guessed this one yet. Today, now, here is your line from the book. 100 strong at least, hunkered down in the street. If you know what book that's from, go to nerdandtie.com, click on the contact form, and click on contact to access the contact form, and tell us. Give us the name, the author and the book, and send it to us and tell us. Or write to us about anything else.
Anything.
For our mailbag.
Anything at all.
The Oscars are tonight.
We want to know what goes on in your mind.
Tell us how happy you are that Birdman. Tell us how happy you are that Birdman won everything tonight, because Birdman was fantastic.
Did it win?
I don't know. I'm not watching him right now. I'm recording with you guys.
Tell us how mad you are that Birdman won nothing tonight. We aren't watching the Oscars right now.
You can make something up. I'm probably not going to look it up. I'll believe you.
I don't know. I don't watch the Oscars.
Let us know. Just let us know whatever you want. We'll probably read your letter on the air. Yes.
Dear Lord.
So, with that, gentlemen, we'll see you all in a fortnight. And For Nerd and Tie, I'm Pher Stirs.
I'm Trey Dorn.
And I'm Nick Izumi. Keep on spocking in the free world.
There, we let Nick say it.
As always, you can rate and review us on Stitcher and iTunes. You can also subscribe to us on either of those platforms on both the iTunes Store or on your Droid app. I believe, if I'm correct, Trey. Obviously, you can't listen to us
There's
on
an
iTunes
iOS Android app for Stitcher.
There's an iOS Android app, but listen to us on there because it's good stuff.
Now we
Good
know why
night,
I
everybody.
normally do this section.